Todd Gunderson and Nicole Haverly, welcome to see you on the show. I'm delighted to have you with us today to talk about how you've been implementing AI at Credit Union One. Before we get started, I always like to find out how you first got started in working with the credit union movement. How'd you get started, Todd?
I guess I'll say I was a bank convert. I worked for Wells Fargo for 16 years right out of college, transitioned from there into the credit union space at Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union, probably going back about, I don't know, 10, 15 years now, and was a chief lending officer. So it seemed like a natural progression. It was interesting to make the transition. I think that in the credit union space, you're able to see your impact and see your work a lot closer and a lot more quickly. I found that exciting. Not having to have a meeting about a meeting about a meeting before we made a decision, and trying to figure out how can we help the member a lot more quickly was a nice change of pace. So that was how I came to be where I'm at right now.
Very good. Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I started in the credit union space actually about 15 years ago. I worked at two larger credit unions in Wisconsin and Minnesota. The last role I had at the last credit union was overseeing all things credit risk, and was utilizing our platform. And so I came over then to nCino about 7 years ago, oversaw a few different sectors here at nCino, but landed in my favorite, which is the credit union movement. So now I just get to work with credit unions like Todd and his and 4,500 credit unions in this space, really making sure that they understand what their members are asking and understand that they can utilize efficiencies and technology well.
So let's start with what are the two of you teamed up on? Now we're going to go back to how it came to be. Well, let's start with what are you guys doing together right now? Tell us a bit, Nicole, maybe a little bit about what nCino does. And then Todd, I want to understand how you decided about this initiative. What strategy did it come from? Let's go back to how it began after Nicole tells us where it is today.
Yeah, so nCino, we started in 2011, really focused on a commercial workflow, just problem that we had in the entire financial institution industry, but would have really evolved since then. So we are really a single intelligent platform end to end that can look at your membership, onboarding and account opening, your consumer lending, all the way up to your small business account opening, lending and commercial. And what's awesome about nCino is we wrap all of that with intelligence and analytics. So every part and step of the way, you'll have your continuous monitoring, your portfolio management across all your deposits and your lending side of the house. So we've helped a lot of banks and credit unions globally across the globe. But when Todd had approached us, really with his forward-thinking mindset and strategy, we were able to team up. So it's been pretty awesome.
So Todd, tell us where from your strategic plan or what caused you to start down the path of AI, and then how did you decide what to do first?
Well, I'll say just like Nicole, I'm a lender at heart. When I was at Wells, I was the SVP of operations for all the US and Canada. So it was all of the things that she talked about and figuring out how do we take that data, how do we take all that information and help our members grow and succeed. So as we started talking about what that looks like, we were looking for a partner that could help us in a variety of different ways. We do consumer lending, we do the mortgages, the HELOCs, the indirect, but we also have a large commercial platform in addition to small business lending. So we needed to be able to do everything seamlessly. I like to have a scenario where the look and feel is the same regardless across any platform. We'd gotten feedback from the team. They said, the way that we do things here is ask them, what are the biggest hurdles that you're encountering? They're like, our process is broken. How we go about doing this, the seamlessness of looking at applications, interacting with whether it's dealers, commercial brokers, whatever it is, it's just clunky. So we wanted something that flowed a little bit better. And so that was from the frontline perspective of what their needs were. I'm a big believer right now where AI needs to be incorporated is the fact that our competition isn't all the other credit unions. It isn't Chase Bank. It isn't Chime. It's Amazon. It's Apple. It's Google. It's Facebook. It's YouTube. It's TikTok. People want an experience. And people talk about the credit union movement. And I think sometimes they feel like they're betraying that. Well, don't you care about the member? Well, yes, the member wants an amazing experience. And when you give that, then they want to come back. They want to figure out, how can I be helped again? You've made it easy for them. So that's where I think AI is the biggest opportunity is, can you provide something as easy as Amazon can, where I can say, hey, Siri, or hey, Alexa, I need some toilet paper. I don't even have to get up from my desk, and toilet paper is sitting outside my door in a package. That is what the members expect nowadays. They don't go from Amazon, get off of that, and say, hey, can I have a clunky experience at the credit union just because you're a credit union? Those days are gone. They want that same all-in-one touch package that they can experience, and that's what's going to help the membership grow, but it's also going to help us serve their needs. It's just the fintech way of life. It is. That's just the expectation now. It's no longer even a competitive advantage. I'd say it's table stakes, that if you don't have it, you're not even going to be considered as an opportunity to win their business.
So is this the first AI initiative you have deployed at Credit Union One?
No, we have multiple ones going across various channels, whether it's within the call center, whether it's within the CRM, the different ways that the different platforms are talking to each other. By no means are we perfect. I mean, we certainly have a lot of opportunity. I think if anybody's honest with themselves, everybody's in that same boat, which is, hey, we've got all these really cool toys that we can play with. That's one thing, but how do you make them talk to each other? I don't want to log into 8 different, AI platforms and figure out, how do I pull that information? We're trying to pull it into one source of truth and figure out, how can everybody access that to best help the membership base, regardless of whatever channel they're coming through.
So you have 3 different AI initiatives going on in the credit union now. Is that right?
I would say at least. I know we're just getting done standing up like Talk Desk and nCino, and we're applying this within the commercial underwriting, the small business underwriting, which to me are 2 different things within the indirect platform. Also within the onboarding, I think we're one of the top sponsors for Contribute, which is why we have some of the highest adoption rates when it comes to checking accounts. So this isn't my first podcast doing this. It seems like we're getting more and more requests to do these things, because I think that they're an expectation. So yeah, we're willing to listen to anybody that's out there and figure out, how do we make this work, and how do we connect the dots between the different AI opportunities. So those are a few off the top of my head.
So how did you and Nicole come to work together? What caused you to choose nCino for this solution? And then how has tell us a little bit about the timeline and what the impacts have been.
So I think the biggest thing is I've always been a believer in indirect. I think it's one of the biggest opportunities that credit unions fail to take advantage of. I think throughout the industry, you have 4,500 credit unions. I would say you probably have 100 that really understand it and know it and feel comfortable with it and realize what a blessing it can be from the membership base. I mean, the fact is all of our members buy cars at dealerships. And for whatever reason, so many people ignore that fact and walk away from it. So where it originally started was, we want to have a powerful indirect process to extend to our membership base. We do a lot of loan participations and sell those out so that we can reinvest that money and continue to help more and more. As we're doing that, we've got a pretty experienced team, and they're like, hey, Todd, our platform isn't robust enough. If we're going to do this, then let's get a robust platform. Great. That's step 1. So they walked in and said, here's what it is. We look at 3 things. It's either people, process, or product. We felt like we had the product. We felt like we had the people, but we didn't have the process. I'd say the product being nCino, so maybe we didn't have that, but the process of what we were doing was clunky. If we wanted to do it at the volume we did, that needed to be smoother. So they came in and presented and said, this is what we want. If you want us to get to where we think we can go, this is what we need. So then the next step is we have a large volume of commercial lending. I mean, we'll do upwards of $400 million in a year in commercial. We can't have just something that's going to help us with, the indirect piece, and then go to another platform for the commercial lending, and then another platform for what I would consider the small business lending aspect. And so as we looked at nCino, we're like, okay, these are things that we can take and make it all into one, so that there isn't, like I said, 3 different screens that are open on 3 different platforms of underwriting, and then now we're pulling in data from somewhere else. So we wanted to figure out how do we seamlessly integrate the data that we have along all the multiple portfolio platforms that we have, segment it out at different levels. Like in indirect, we want the ability to segment it out by maybe even auto type. How does a Ford Fusion compare to a Toyota Camry hybrid, and at the different FICO levels, what the pricing should be in the portfolio and all those things. And then also be able to do that in the small business banking. What does a mom and pop, barber shop look like underwriting compared to a $4 million, multifamily home? Those are all things that we wanted to find someone who could do all of that well. And that's what led us down the path.
And what aspect of that is AI? How does AI get involved there?
The AI aspect of it is, I think that we want to be able to figure out how to automate 75% of that decision making. I mean, we can build the algorithms and take that. So whether it's on the bottom part of the funnel where you have the auto declines, and there's just scenarios where that happens so that you can free up that time. And then you have the auto approvals that you're going to approve no matter what. And what that does is allows a lot of things to happen. It means that Sunday night at midnight, if you want to apply for an auto loan, that we can go ahead and approve that on your time frame, how you'd like to do it. It also creates an opportunity for our team members to be available for you. I think there's this misnomer that technology means that the personal side is less touch. It actually increases that. If I can go ahead and underwrite automated, it allows me and you, Doug, to have a conversation around where do you want to go with your finances. Okay, yes, we're doing a loan for you on the indirect side or the consumer side, but in that process we've discovered, hey, we could probably re-underwrite your Chase loan, lower your payment $50 by giving you a lower rate, or consolidating some debt, or it looks like you're trying to do some home improvement. You can have a holistic conversation that can last 30 to 40 minutes, because I'm not sitting there spending time underwriting decisions that it can be done in a matter of seconds based off of data that is repetitive and reliable.
Nicole, did you have anything you wanted to expand on there?
Yeah, no, when Todd and I and our teams kind of met up last year, Todd's strategic leadership is extremely visionary. Credit Union One is not solving for today's problems. They're looking outward and saying, how do we make sure that we can solve these for all of our members and non-members who deserve to be a part of their membership? So I felt that right away, and our team did with just Todd and his team. And I think you really doubled down on something, Todd, and that's like relationship and tech are not mutually exclusive. And I think that's a stigma in our the culture in the industry as well right now. And I like talking about this when it comes to like scalability and the manner in which Todd and team will be able to, he talked about the Sunday night, the midnight items, when credit unions can prioritize the personal relationships, but also then use modern technology. You're getting both of those items in one. You're not going to have to be able to go through the things that shouldn't be manual, but actually get in front of your members' financial situations and their milestones and move from a reactive stance more to a proactive stance with the members. So Todd and his team, we've just felt that since the beginning, that they want to transform, and they've always been ahead, but to continue to do that on behalf of their entire membership base.
Right on. Yeah, well, that's why we're glad to have you on the podcast, because this is the information we want to share with the rest of the movement. So how have you seen metrics that you can talk about that have increased? What it says on the envelope with AI is more personalization and greater productivity. Have you seen that? Have you seen more approvals, more volume?
Yeah, there's a few things that are happening. Part of it, we started having the learnings back in COVID when we weren't able to see people, and this will be a weird evolution, but we realized that the less people we had walking into the branch, the more loan volume we did, and the more our deposits grew. And the reason that was because we had time to talk to members. It changed the scope of people thinking about, well, you have to have someone in place. We just had this discussion today / argument of, hey, how do we fill this one member at a time? Because people are like, oh, you have to help one member at a time. You do, but if you can create an environment where you can help one member at a time more frequently and for longer periods of time, you're going to help them succeed at a much higher level. And you're going to have your credit union grow at a much higher level. So what it's done is it's freed up time. We want our branches to be conversation centers. we're not trying to have you stop by and drop a check off or stop by and figure out how to make a withdrawal. I mean, all of those things can be done automated. And it isn't, hey, we don't put up a barricade that says you're not welcome in the branch. It's like, hey, let's educate you on the fact that you just paid for gas that's $3-4 a gallon to drive somewhere to do something that you could have saved yourself time and money doing, and we could have helped you a lot more efficiently. A lot of people come into the branch because they just don't know any different. So part of that is educating them on, hey, you've got this tool. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not supposed to be a distraction. This is people's branch. Mm-hmm. The only time you walk into a branch is usually you're angry about how something's going, or you need a really in-depth conversation around more of a complicated scenario. Maybe it's related to investment banking, or maybe it's related to your retirement scenario, or all those types of things. So by applying AI, the personalization has increased. Well, that means I like the experience. You don't have to then be the rate leader. Everyone's always concerned about, hey, the lowest rate is what wins. No, it doesn't. The experience always wins. If I treat you well, you will come back. You won't even shop me. And I'm not saying that allows you to have rates that are out of market. You have to have rates that are in market. But people lead with the wrong stuff. They lead with the fact that, it's the old Maya Angelou saying, people forget what you said. They remember how you were treated. How did you make me feel? You made me feel good. I'm coming back. That's what we want the branches for. The rest of it, the credit union space is turned upside down, and I don't think people get it yet. It used to be that the call centers were in place to support the branches because people would walk in, and if you weren't available, I'll call the branch I'll call if I have to, or I'll use chat if I have to. Where now it's like, my kids are like, I don't want to talk to anybody ever. I want a chat bot, and if you can't do that, I'm not going to bank with you. That's just a fact. So if you're not going to meet them in the chat bot world, you're not getting them. If you're not going to meet me, I'm a phone call guy. If you're not going to meet me at the call center, you're not going to get my business. If you're not going to go ahead and have automated AI that can answer a phone at 2:00 in the morning, because maybe I work the night shift and you're not available when the branch is open, then how are you helping me? That's what AI does. And because of that, your loan volume goes up. We've always been a lending shop. I mean, we're not an investment center. Our money is designed to be out on the street. So at a minimum, we're looking to be 85% lent out, depending on where we're at. And that's what the members expect. So it's a long-winded conversation, or answer, but I think that's where people are missing the boat. It's not mutually exclusive. The AI frees up time, it drives efficiencies, and it creates more opportunity for personalization and the member experience. We measure every single interaction with the member, whether it's online, whether it's in person, or on the phone, and say, what did you think of us? And then they're giving us that direct feedback so that we can constantly figure out how do we tweak the artificial intelligence, whether it's in the underwriting aspect of things, whether it's in the call center, whether it's within the chat bot, all of the interactive things that we have going on. You say it, I probably could think of 5 or 6 different AI things. So part of it's, you kind of forget the things that you're working on, but whether, you have the chat bot as AI, the talk to us as AI, the underwriting, just the different aspects that we can lean into.
But I think, Todd, what's important about what you're saying is that you guys have embedded that into your culture already. And so when you say, like, sometimes we forget about it, it's because that is the way of working at Credit Union One. And I've seen that as well. And you've talked about this more like flexibility of an omni-channel experience anywhere, right? You're meeting, and let's talk about Gen Z right now. They're mobile first and they're always on. So you're taking the individuals who want to come into a branch, maybe it's for a more complex commercial onboarding or a loan, but you then may have kiosks that are sitting in a branch with iPads that they can start some of the applications while you have a mobile first environment where any time of the morning hours or evening your members can come on as well. I think with that, you are being able to then offer this financial advice outside of just the transactions. You're really curating interactions that are formed in trust with your members too.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the other thing that's really allowed us to incorporate into it is the financial education and wellness platforms that we have. So this is always the big bellwether thing that credit unions talk about is financial education and financial wellness. And the fact is most of them are actually pretty poor. They hand you a book and say, read this and you'll understand it. Today, it needs to be a little bit of the AI, the technology driven that takes into account, like if you look at our financial education platform, if all three of us go on there right now, it's going to spit out a different plan. It's going to ask you, Doug, well, what is your risk tolerance versus my risk tolerance? How many kids do you have? How many are in college versus how many are me? I mean, I got a 5-year-old. I don't. I mean, all my kids are in college, but you have a newborn versus this. You're buying a house versus, hey, I'm towards retirement. All of these are variables. And it used to be that, hey, we're going to educate our members on how to be savvy from a financial education standpoint. We need you to get a better FICO score, but no one tells them how to get that better FICO score. They don't go ahead and say, hey, based on where you're at, your credit card debt needs to drop $1,932 if you want your FICO score to rise 32 points. And you can't take on a car loan if you do this. And if you do these things and your FICO score raises from 684 up to 732, your rate is now going to drop 1.9 points. And that's going to save you 200, I'm making this up, for illustrative purpose, but it's going to save you $2,000 over the course of the loan. That's financial education and wellness. That actually can do some. I can do something with you now as we're sitting there, as opposed to in the old days. It's like, well, Doug, I need you to pay your bills. Yep, I'm up to speed on that. Then what? Well, what happens if I get a car? Well, you'll have more debt. That'll be bad. Okay. People don't understand the how. They don't understand, okay, well, if I do it, then why are you asking me to do it? Well, because higher rates are more expensive. Well, what does that mean to me in real terms, in real dollars? Well, it means that you might have an extra $516 a month in expendable income to go on a vacation that you wouldn't otherwise be able to afford, and your quality of life improves. That's financial education as it should be in today's world, instead of the old tired and true of, well, we're the credit union, we care about our members, and we're going to talk to you about, we're going to have you come down to the community center and talk about how to get a first mortgage loan. That's just dated, it's old, it's tired, and that's why no one's showing up at those events. I mean, that's what needs to change. And so, interestingly enough, our financial education and wellness platforms are now driving growth, especially with the millennials and the Gen Zs and all these people, because here's what they'll tell you. Make it quick on this and teach me something in the process, and I'm your consumer. Drag it out and make it boring, and I'm going to disconnect from you. And that's an expectation. And I also don't buy into the fact, my mom's 77, 78. Believe it or not, she's got an iPhone. She knows how to use it. Mm-hmm. I get so tired of hearing about how old people don't know how to use phones and they don't know how to use apps. If they didn't, they're literally disconnected from life. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Grandparents have grandkids. They want to see pictures of their grandkids. So they want to know what they're doing. So guess what they do? They figure out how to use apps to follow their grandchildren's lives, which means they can simply download a financial app and learn how to do that stuff. It's kind of like we talk down to them like they're idiots. Well, old people don't get it. No, they do. You're just being really ignorant about the fact that old people are actually still smart. They're still capable. They still know how to dial a phone, and they still know how to upload an app. And even if they don't, the grandkids that they're trying to keep track of will help them, and they'll figure it out. So I do believe in the omni-channel. I do believe you have to meet the people where they're at. And people who want to walk into the branch, you absolutely have to be there. But I think that what we like to do in the credit union industry is tell ourselves a story of, oh, no, Todd, you got to understand the old people don't want to, they want to come into the branches. I'm like, no, you force them into the branches because you don't give them an alternative. Because I'd be willing to bet if you gave them alternatives regarding AI and being efficient, that as much as you like to tell yourself a story, this is almost my favorite. No, they come into the branch because they really like us. They don't like you more than their family. They don't like you more than their spouse. If you're going to give them the chance to drive and see you versus drive and see their kid across town play a ball game, you're not going to win. But we love to tell ourselves that story of, no, we're here for them because they really like to come and see us. It's most likely they're coming in because you have given them no other alternative but to come in. Once they have another alternative, you're going to find out that they're going to show up less and less. But your volume will actually go up if you provide them an experience that is convenient to them to do business on their terms. We're really good at the credit union industry of saying, no, we're going to make you do business on our terms, which is coming to the branch because we're a part of the community. That's the other one that drives me nuts, is that somehow if you have technology and AI that you're not connected to the community and that you just don't care about the credit union movement. I've never heard something so asinine as people, and people actually believe that in our industry. They do. And if you talk about it like I do, it's like, oh, he's kind of a jerk. He doesn't get it. And it's like, no, you don't get it. Like, your members are on Amazon, they're on Google, they're on TikTok, and you seem for some reason to think that they expect a different experience when dealing with you because that makes you feel better. I just, you know, I think that's why I'm a love you or hate you type of personality, where people are going to be like, no, he gets it. And other people are going to be like, he's a jerk and he doesn't understand and he's disconnected from the movement. And I'm like, I think you're disconnected from the movement because someone that's at a small credit union really wants online banking that's really robust. Why would they not? I mean, just because they're at a small credit union doesn't mean they don't want these features. It just means that they're not available or they haven't been made aware of it. So I could go on for hours about that. As you can tell, my tone changes, my voice changes. I get fired up about it because I think it's a constant battle internally of that somehow if you're trying to better yourself, that means you're disconnected from the credit union movement. And it just drives me nuts.
Nicole, were you going to add to that?
Yeah, Todd, we've had some conversations about this, but you're right, of meeting them where they want and need to be met and giving them the tools. Who doesn't want to be self-sufficient in this world? I'm assuming a lot of people want to be able to do what they want. And if they don't know how to get there, teach them how to fish. Going back to some users that are maybe they don't know everything about the iPhone, but they do want to learn about the financial literacy so that they can make best decisions on behalf of their financial lives. I liked, Todd, when we were talking a little bit about using automation and AI to give, whether it's, the next best product, whatever you need to do to enhance the financial situations. Credit unions do not have a lack of data at their fingertips. It's what they're doing with that data and how they're going to move it forward. I always think about, and going back, my primary financial institution is still in Wisconsin. I haven't needed to go into a branch in 15 years. And yet I have done everything with that credit union for the last 15 years. They have every detail about my financial situations, my transactions, my deposits, all my lending activities, my credit card statements, all of the milestones that I've gone through, including the 3 little girls that I have in their accounts. AI should be able to use that data and be able, when I call in or I go into my mobile online app, whatever that is, succinctly help me with my path forward without having to dig through data. I do love my days. 15 years ago, I could sit with a member in front of me, print out the credit report, go through things. That's not scalable nor efficient, right? And so how do we make sure that we use technology and partner with the right people to bring that still to life while having those relationships with our communities and our members?
And the reality of it is that the more scalable it becomes, the more you're able to create savings that you can pass along back to the membership. I mean, if you're going to talk about that we're member owned, well, the whole point of being efficient and using technology is to reduce expenses, is to be able to offer lower rates, is to be able to offer higher rates on the deposits. That doesn't come unless you can find a way to cut the expenses out to push them down that path of dividend payouts or loan reduction amounts. So it's not a fairy tale la la land of, hey, we're just going to have high deposit rates and loan rates, but we're not going to figure out how do we make things automated and efficient so that the member benefits from that.
Well said.
And I'll hear you. Here's the other thing is we're really good at the credit union space of acting like the banks are the evil empire in Star Wars. And the reality of it is all of the new members that are being gained are going to banks because they have the technology platforms, they have the service. And this is data. This isn't my feelings. Right now, credit unions are being outperformed by banks over the last 5 years in customer service. And we used to love to pound our chest and go, we're way better. We have best. We don't. We're lacking and we're losing members because of it. But people are unwilling to say, well, how come you like Chime? I mean, you've never talked to a person ever, and yet you've got 30 billion in assets that have grown. And so what does that tell you? That people are really trying to strive for? They want service, they want easy, and they want a great experience. That's what their number one goal in life right now is make my life easier. I will do business with you. Mm-hmm. But we're really, really good on going, no, banks are evil. People don't like them. It's kind of almost like the divide in the country of Democrats and Republicans. It's like, well, not everybody's an idiot. Like, so there are people on the banking side that do things really, really well that we should be stealing from them. We do things on our side really, really well. Why are we not figuring out how to create a hybrid of that benefits the member instead of arguing, nope, I'm right or you're right? That's just stupid.
I want to try to wrap up with a final couple of ideas. So I'd ask each of you to comment on two things. One, if Todd, you're obviously way ahead of most of the movement in implementation of AI. But if you weren't, if you could talk to still a large credit union that had only touched the very beginnings of AI, how would you suggest they evaluate where to take action? What would the first and second steps be? And then the second question is, what's next for Credit Union One? What do you see yourself? What is the next area where AI might start to be a part of your member service experience?
First, I think the easiest place to go to is ask your team members that you currently have and your board, especially if you're a large organization, and say, why don't you bank with us? They'll tell you. That's what we did. We went out and asked our own team members. And I'm like, how come you guys don't have your checking account with us? They're like, one of the biggest answers was, believe it or not, you don't pay 2 days early. I said, so you're telling me if we just get the technology to get your paycheck 2 days early, you'll change? They're like, yes. They are consumers. They're a free focus group for you. I sit in our boardroom and I ask this question all the time. Why don't you have every product with us? Well, your product sucks. What part sucks? I mean, what do we need to change here? Okay, so once we do this, then you're telling me that you'll move your high yield savings over from Ally to us because we don't have that product. You're making things too clunky. It takes me too long to get your mortgage approved. These are all real conversations we have. Okay, I can call Rocket Mortgage, and Rocket Mortgage can have me approved within a matter of an hour, and my loan is closed within X amount of time. Well, that's all related to AI. Rocket Mortgage has an amazing AI platform. They have an amazing sales follow-up platform, and people love it. Well, if you've got your own team members where you work are telling you, hey, I'm going to other places, then do what they're doing. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room to figure out most products are already out there. You just have to replicate them and figure out how to tweak them and make them your own unique, product that fits your base. So I'd say you have your own pilot group that you can tap into with your own team members, especially if you're a large credit union. You probably got 300, 400, 500 people you could ask of varying ages from 22 to 65 on why they're doing that. So that's where I would start, is in that capacity. And that's what we did. And it was eye-opening. It was really eye-opening to have people kind of punch you in the mouth and go, yes, you guys are not getting it. And it was your own employees. And then here's the other thing. If you do that, you now have a free marketing team because your team now is using your products. So when members walk through the door and they're like, well, what do you think about this? Well, actually, Doug, I have this product. Let me talk to you about it. It cuts down on your training. I don't have to train you on a product that you already have. So that was the other thing that we talked about is, hey, this actually improves our marketing. It actually improves our product knowledge just by sheer having the product ourselves. And so that's the other thing I think that's helped us grow. It's all kind of goofy, quirky stuff that you don't think about, but you're like, okay, we're actually a lot more educated on our own products than we were. So that's where I would start because I think a lot of people like to make things complicated and it doesn't need to be. What was the other question? What's next for us?
Yeah. If you want Nicole to add on to that, it'll give you a second to think about
go
what's
ahead.
next.
Yeah, no, I think when you're thinking about digital transformation too, digital is a gateway and it's not the end of it. I do believe that, like the conversations we had previously, meeting people at that digital is the first step of building that trust. And when you know that you're acknowledging that they are busy individuals and that if you can give these items at their fingertips via intelligence and AI, our CEO here challenges everyone. The second that you put in earbuds to do a task, that task probably can be more efficient or automated. And then we sit and we figure things out. I see credit unions coming really to nCino and to other platforms saying, we know that we can do better here, and we want to make sure that that digital transformation and forefront is where we're headed towards. I've seen it in a lot of conversations. It shows strategic maturity as well. I see credit unions like Credit Union One, but you've been ahead of the curve here, Todd, shifting really from experimentation with AI more to like intentionality of AI. And we know that we need to do this to not only serve our members, but to stay relevant in today's market.
So the next question is, what's next?
I think what's next is allowing people to choose how they want to do the business. We already talked about, but here's what it looks like in real life is she used the headphone example. I'm one of those where if I want to complete something digitally on my own, don't force me not to. And I'll use this time to bash American Airlines. I mean, the fact is that I've got a ticket credit from a thing. I am told to copy and paste my ticket number into their website, and I get to a certain point, and they're like, please contact us. I don't want to contact you. You're forcing me to interact in a manner that I do not want to. Now I'm going to bash you on social media and tell you how ineffective you are. I mean, that's just the real world. The membership at Credit Union One should say, let me do things the way that I want to do things. That is what our goal is. That means that when you have your loan get paid off, do you really need to call us to get your title, or shouldn't we automate that to the pack that you don't even say anything? The last payment comes in, the amount of time goes by that needs to say, hey, it's 10 days, it's safe, and we automatically send that out, whether it's required or not. Just little everyday back office functionality that doesn't require a person to interact, but yet we still require it. So what our goal is, and we are nowhere near this, so I don't want to pretend like we are, is every single thing should be done without human interaction. Then if you want it, you can have that. If you're like, I would prefer to do that, great. That is your choice. But I don't want to force a member down a path of talking to someone when there's not a need to talk to someone. And that becomes the ease of use. And if we make that easy and we make that experiment or that experience great for them, here's what happens. They tell somebody else. They'll be like, God, you wouldn't believe, Doug, how easy this was for me. I was sitting there watching TV and I did a loan on my phone. Had everything done within a matter of minutes. Or at the end of the loan, it's like, yeah, I had my title back in 10 days. Didn't even have to talk to anybody. And then they did this, this, and this. And they set me up for a new car loan without even having to go through this. That's what I want. My biggest slap in the face, and I'll tell you, I'm a really big analogy guy based off of real life. My wife and I, first in our relationship, obviously I'm the CEO. I come home and she talks about how she started a home equity loan for us. I'm like, what on God's green earth are you doing? It's like, well, I go, you understand what I do for a living and how we pay the bills here, right? And she's like, yeah, but I was at my office and I just talked to them for a minute and they took care of everything. I didn't even have to leave my desk. Our rate was a full 3/4 of a point better than where she banks at. Didn't matter to her. She just said, I just called them and they did it. Didn't have any idea what the rate was, didn't care. She's just like, but it's done. And I was like, well, that's great. That'll be a takeaway for us to get better at the credit union, but we're not doing a loan with the bank because we're just not. But it was a real wake-up call that I'm married to someone and they're still going to another banking opportunity because they made it easier for us.
Yes. Ease of transaction in relationships, right. Trump rates. Yep.
That's what has to happen. And it happens at every single situation. And that's how you create brand. That's how you create presence. It's how you create awareness. I always joke with the team, look at Chick-fil-A. All their commercials are not about the quality of their food. It's about somebody sitting on a red couch talking about how you know that I need a spicy chicken and a lemonade, or I think my kid's going to lose their, softball game. That's the connectivity. It isn't the chicken, it's the experience.
Yeah.
That's what's next for us is how do we get to that level where people are talking about us sitting on a couch because of what we did. And unfortunately, I think people are going to go, oh, you don't get it. That's not part of the credit union movement. And I'm going to be like, well, I think we're going to help a hell of a lot more people than you are. So which one are you going to use as a measuring stick? Talking about it or doing it?
If I can add, as Todd kind of creates that vision, another thing that's important, at least for our culture at nCino too, is providing the visibility and the awareness to your members along that journey with Credit Union One or whichever credit union it is, right? When I'm doing something that's easy, I also want to know that, hey, Todd, the text ping that says I'm going to get my title in 10 days, right? Instead of questioning where it's coming. Or when you're in an application and you need to know exactly, was the appraisal ordered and it came in your inbox? Those things matter to us end users too, because we want to know what next step that is. And finding partners in technology that allows, again, that visibility on the member side to know exactly where they're at in any of their processes really, really matters. So.
It's funny you talk about the visibility. One of the things that changed our growth was caller ID and letting people, it was letting them know it was us that was calling, because you get a lot of people where it's like, I don't recognize this number.
Yeah.
And it costs money to let them know that you're calling. But when we did, the acceptance rates of our calls went up, which means the service went up, which means the experience went up, which means you do more loans and you do it a lot more efficiency. But it was little things like that. Like you said, it's silly, but they're like, I just want to know you are who you say you are and figure that out.
Yep.
Especially with the amount of phishing and other forms of fraud that we have in this
Right.
world today. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Todd Gunderson from Credit Union One, thank you for helping your membership, for helping me capture this data to share with the credit union industry, and Nicole Haverly with nCino. Thank you as well for the impact you're making on the credit union movement. I love what we've talked about today. I hope our listeners will use this, capture the information, and continue to drive the credit union movement forward. So with that, thanks everybody.
Thanks,
All right.
Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you.